Now it's recording.
Awesome. So essentially when they asked me that, I just told them essentially how, she was the one who emailed it in, set up the meeting between me and the vice president with Brittany, what was it? And then her previous involvement concerning, her previous opinions concerning the previous Greek life request. And then essentially I also stated how Senator Lewis had been for both of those, then she was for one, against one. They selected particular parts of my quote. You can see the ... that indicates that. So yeah, this isn't the first time they've misquoted me. I had a great run-in with the curriculum change, where I was adamantly against the 4-4, which was not fun because I had a flood of emails afterwards. So I'm sorry, Senator Sue, if there's any misinterpretation. What I recommend, though, is you write a rebuttal article in the Trentonian, at least say something about why you did that or why you think it's that's what I recommend. I recommend any ASR senator to do that. So now moving on from that, tonight we have a plethora of funding requests. We see 6 concerning the Harvard Mall UN. I have no official comment with that. I'm just going to say that now. I have an obviously major conflict of interest. So tonight, when we reach the chairing part of that, I'm actually going to have Alex, our chief of staff, deal with that because I'm on it. Sean used to be on it. The vice president used to be on it. I'm going to keep the spirit of formality here, and I don't want that to be interpreted in any way. So you're not going to. Don't ask me questions. That's what I'm going to say. Don't ask me questions that I'm not going to answer. Now, concerning the Cricket funding request, I'm in full support of that. I don't see anything as of now. Momentum's a great event on campus. Love it. I think it's just one of those things we have to encourage. JSA's Purim Party funding request is, so far as I understand it, as an event to highlight, I believe it's a religious holiday. It's a great funding request from my perspective. The Black History Month and then the Blackbuster movie funding requests are great. Especially the part involving Dr. Latmore. He's actually my thesis advisor, so I think if he's doing anything, it's going to be great. And the Love Poem and Open Mic Night is a great request. I see no controversies involving those 5. So moving on from there, we're entering the last month of ASR, pretty much. We're starting elections fairly soon. I'm just going to say this now. We have to extend the deadline. Not enough applicants. To give you the skinny of it, campaigning won't begin until late Thursday-ish, Friday-ish. There'll be an email going out. Not enough applicants came into the process. Surprisingly, the VP one, though, tons of people are going into that.
What up?
Just kidding, just kidding. No. But with this last month, it's been traditional in ASR to die down, stop doing stuff, let things go to waste, and I know I'm not going to. It's rough, especially as a senior. I understand that. It starts dragging on you, but push through it. You're going to see a lot more funding requests coming in because when me and the vice president have to set a deadline for funding requests, you're going to see, at least in the last 2 meetings, you'll probably see upwards to 11 funding requests, minimum of 5. Because people start realizing, because technically, to give you guys to understand this, we have the authority for all funding requests for the remainder of this academic year. That technically there can be 2 ASRs going on concurrently. Tradition is to end March 31st, but that could happen. So we're going to set a deadline for the remainder of this year and finish that. So moving on tonight, I have a series of amendments I'm going to show you all, mostly minor ones. I incorporated an amendment introduced by Senator Lulani concerning the res life. So I'm going to actually pull that up right now. I have a couple more minutes. Under Constitution amendments, because I want to go over this briefly concerning the res life component. So there was an idea of making it where you could abstain and be a res life member. But there is another component of the Constitution that says senators have the right to vote on all matters. So inherently, we're putting a contradiction within the Constitution saying everyone can vote on everything, but not these people. And then you have these 2 separate sections conflicting with each other that honestly, I think it's just better to allow res life people to vote on matters concerning res life. It's up to the students to determine if they want someone with that potential conflict of interest there. But they make that decision on a large variety of things, whether they're librarian, staff, or etc. I changed the component involving Honor Council and Res Life. My interview process with Honor Council revealed there is little conflict of interest between being a Res Life member and an Honor Council member, because those are kind of two different spheres. Conduct Board, there's obviously a huge conflict of interest, so I'm keeping that part incorporated. What it'll look like now is Section 6 will only be about ASR office holders. Section 7 will be about everyone else. What I do want to encourage a debate, though, is over this part concerning officers of major organizations. I'm not including anything. Someone can amend this if they want to, but that is an area up for discussion. I know people right now who are in direct conflict if we were to put, like, say, Big 6 for major organizations, which is the intent of that. So we move down. I changed one other thing of substance, which was on removal. I asked that if someone has to be removed, it has to be 2/3 of full Senate membership, because I feel like if we're going to remove someone from ASR, we have to do that as a body, not as like just a part of a group. So that's just changing quorum to a full Senate membership. I don't overtly care about that, so if people are like having any moral objections to that being done, we can remove that. The remainder of the changes on here are all logistical concerning a calendar change. We talked about this extensively at the beginning of the year, changing the calendar to begin January 1st and December 31st. It would change elections in terms of you would have to essentially do about 20 candidates if you want to keep it anywhere near what we have now. 5 for each grade. That number can be reduced to 4, but I think 5 is better. It gives 20, which is only one more than what current Senate membership is. Concerning class categories, which was a discussion we had earlier this year, I found it's actually not that complicatedly written into the Constitution. The way I essentially have it phrased, and it's, but I can show it later. Essentially what it is whatever your class status is, going into that November election for the new year will be your class status for the remainder of the year. Seniors will be elected, so we're essentially doing kind of the flip of what we do now, where freshmen get half a year. Now it's just going to be seniors get half a year, and then they graduate and the Senate membership shrinks to 15, which is the exact opposite of now, where it's 15, then it expands. Proposals will still be done in April, which will allow the Senate sufficient time to kind of understand what's going on with the year. It's not fun being the president of ASR, and you're like within the first day, you have a full set of budget proposals coming in. I can say that without a doubt from experience, with all the other things being dealt with. We did have to change a component concerning funding request. Funding request in January will be in the jurisdiction of the previous ASR, so that people can request stuff in December. Beyond that, that's everything here. I'll be emailing this out. I don't want this voted on tonight at all. I think technically it could be, but I don't want that. I want this to be debated, looked over, and determined by next week, so that if it is included, we can send out material to the students concerning it. Beyond that, I didn't add any of the other substance we've talked about in the ASR law. Oh, I changed it where you can only vote for people by your class standing. That was the other component, sorry. That is a substantive one. I think we've been over this discussion long enough. I don't even have to justify it. If anyone does have objections, just bring it up. I didn't want to bring up any of the other substantive stuff because I wanted a longer discussion on those parts. There are some things like changing the chairship that I think require more extensive discussion about how does that change the role then of, let's say, the VP and the president, and how does that change certain Senate dynamics. I would like the next year's ASR to really dig into this. I have a good set of notes, peer institutions, student constitutions, my ideas, what maybe should be done, but it should all be done at once. And I don't like the fact we're having to do changes now and then do changes again next year, but I don't want to do weird piecemeal substantive ones that are kind of being done last minute. I'm okay with this because this is by and large like procedural things. So I'm just going to put that out there now, but yeah, so I'm going to yield the remainder of my time to the Vice President to discuss some of the funding stuff from this committee. Cool.
So, over the last 2 weeks, my committee's kind of looked at all the funding requests that we're going to be having, discussing. The first one here is the Black Student Union one. This is for Black History Month and the Blockbuster Movie Night. It looks great. The committee unanimously recommended that we approve it. And actually, I think that this one is so well done that I kind of want to use it as a model for how funding requests should be done, because they will actually line item everything that they have here, which is really good. It's a pretty reasonable amount for what they're asking. Okay, so the second one we had, this was 2 weeks ago. There was the love poem. This is actually not quite updated. They weren't able to get the bartender, or won't need TUPD for this, so I think it's actually $605. But you know, it looks good. I think the love poem contest is actually happening tonight, so committee approved that one as well. We talked about this. This one, they actually already, because the event's taking place the 24th. So I emailed them, and they already have the alcohol permit all taken care of. So that's good. And the amount looks fine to me. So, well, then we have Momentum. The committee approved this as well, and we asked that they add in an extra line item for the Trinitonian advertisements. That's an extra $140 on top of what they were asking for. But overall, pretty reasonable. I think it's actually less than what they were asking for last year. So, and then Cricket Nights, a pretty small amount. We asked that the committee asked that they include a storage bin as a line item, because that way they don't have to keep coming to ask for us year after year to ask for this. And then the last one was Model UN. We didn't come to a decision about that since they're going to be presenting tonight. So I'll let them speak to that. Overall, if we approved all 6 of these requests, that's about $3,000 total. We have $47,000 for the semester, so we could do it pretty easily, I feel. That's pretty much all I have to say about what the committee decided. Does anyone have any questions? Or
we'll keep questions for later.
Okay, cool.
All right. Is that all? Cool.
Okay, so simply, is everyone okay with this agenda for the night? Part of the notice is just you approve or disapprove. Just say aye if you approve. Aye. Okay, so now we'll move with, everyone has 2 minutes to say whatever they want to say, whether it's general stuff or focus stuff, opinion, whatever. So we'll start right here, Senator Hoffman. You can also yield.
I yield my time.
I yield my time. Yield.
I like them all. I yield the time. Yield.
Yeah, I was on that committee and I like them all too. Yield.
The only question I would ask is how much we ended up funding BSU, just so we point of reference with the Model UN. Concerning, it's a conference, isn't it? So we're talking, it's part of a larger.
Oh, you're talking about the BSU conference.
Yes.
Yeah.
BSU conference.
It's a little over $3,700.
Well, I mean per person. It's like when we get in debate about that, I like to see that. But other than that,
Okay.
everything else, I think we're all great. Yield.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
So, are you going to send us all the things that you changed and then we're going to look over them and vote on them next week? Okay. Yield. Yield. Am I allowed to say something other than to say something?
Yeah, you can speak whatever you want. This is what this point is for, is whatever you want.
Okay, cool. So I do have something that I want to talk about. One of my, I don't know if any of you guys know Travis Wentworth. He's like a scuba diver, and he wants to get a scuba class, like a scuba certification class on Trinity campus. So essentially what I'm going to be doing is talking to Dr. Times about it this week, but I wanted to know if you guys had any comments about that. Essentially he doesn't want it to be like a class for credit, because that would take a long time to be incorporated into the curriculum. He just wants to be able to use the Trinity swimming pool for the certification class and have it open to Trinity students, and essentially it would be a lot more discounted than to do it anywhere else because we wouldn't have to pay overhead fees. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be talking to Dr. Times about this week.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have something to say, but I yielded my time. I didn't realize.
It's okay.
I didn't realize we could say anything. Last Monday, I had my meeting with the safety committee, and left a little flustered. They think the emergency blue light phones are too expensive. They also said that this is what horrified me the most, was that even during the blackout, the emergency blue light phones went out with the blackout. Like, they're not even on. I was like, I was like, that's not a good thing at all. Like, I was shocked to hear that. And so they are going to think about it, but they're $5,000 each. And so I was going to ask what y'all thought, but I was thinking possibly that with our equipment fund, that we could buy maybe 4 and they could match us 4. So that'd be about $20,000 for 4 more emergency blue light phones, and then they pay for 4, because we need about 8 more on campus. And I think they're a necessity. I think there's only 2 on upper campus, which astounds me, but if you just start walking around and just start looking for them, they're so hard to find. And I think that in those situations when you don't have your phone, it's dead, you feel uncomfortable, someone, passed out, you can immediately get a hold of TUPD and they can find you at that phone. Unlike a cell phone where if you call them, they don't know where you are necessarily, and it loses time. I don't know, I kind of wanted to hear what y'all thought about it.
Let's do a general discussion at the end so we can
Okay.
just get to our business. But if you guys, for the future, these 2 minutes or whatever you want to say things you're doing on campus, so that we can say that now, and then if we want to discuss it later during the informal discussion, then we'll know what points to hit up. So since this is the first time, if anyone has any just general thoughts about anything you want to say now, I will allow that since a lot of people yielded their time.
Travis also briefly mentioned school activity. I think it's a really great idea. The way he pitched it is that the place he works for Dive Masters, he's already a master dive instructor. He's pretty legit. They actually use a program on Trinity's campus, but it for some reason kind of died off. And the way he said is it would work is that because we have 2 pools, it wouldn't create any conflicts, because when the team's using the indoor pool, there you go, when the outdoor pool being used, flip-flop. So I think it's a great idea, and I think that it's really something cool that ASR can do. So yes.
You guys, I'll comment on that momentarily, but I just wanted to say, are we going to talk about the travel issue at some point tonight, or is that going to be pushed towards another meeting?
That's up to the Senate. I would say, if you want to have informal discussions concerning that, if you want the different committees to discuss it, if they have formal ideas, this would be the time for them to express that. When it comes to precedent's never a binding thing, so we can't make binding rules concerning that unless you want to absolutely change the Constitution. But that's really more of maybe having a group inquire into that topic, kind of investigate it, maybe to some effect, and say, here's what our official recommendations are, and then we can maybe create something to that effect. That's just a list of recommendations for ASR, but not anything that's binding. But it's a very complex issue. Is there any other general statements? No? Okay. So concerning updates, I just have a couple for officer updates. We've already approved the bylaws. The committees appear to be working to some effect. We've had some logistical and technical problems here or there, but that's expected with kind of what we're dealing with in such a short period of time. I like what's coming out. I'm fairly excited. People are talking about the different issues we want. We're able to better focus on those different areas, whether that's internal rules to ASR, or if that's student life on campus, or academic matters. So I'm pretty happy with beginning results with that. Honor Council went swimmingly. That's done with now. As I said earlier, we will be postponing the application period by a couple extra days. I'm thinking Thursday at 10 p.m. That's probably about what I'm looking at postponing and campaigning with them. We didn't have enough applicants. The Constitution allows the committee to extend it. The committee spoke earlier today and we decided that. So I'll be sending out an email to all the people shortly.
not enough applicants for all of the grades?
The quote in particular says it's something effective if there are not 15 applicants, including 5 per. So like the minimum of 5, the election committee may postpone the application period. We didn't get, I think there was one class we didn't get 5, and then I think we hit just 5 for the other 2. So, and I was not a fan of that. I'm not always the biggest fan. Even though I benefited from that as a senator, I'm not always the biggest fan of people automatically winning. It kind of takes out the whole point of getting elected. Well, not the whole point, but it reduces part and parcel the idea of competitive elections. So,
Are we allowed to know the applicants? I just want to know because I was encouraging a lot of people to run, and I want to know if they actually did it.
they probably didn't. No, that's a disclosure thing I'm not comfortable with doing until afterwards. But honestly, I doubt anyone's gonna lie too much to the effect of, oh no, I applied, and you'd find out fairly fast. But I mean, I've encouraged as many people as you guys want. We need more people to run.
Are you emailing students that the applications will be?
Yes.
Yeah, they did.
It'll be a student-wide email. It won't be. I doubt the reaction will be great to it, but nonetheless, that will happen. Yes.
Is it possible at all for the students ending in tomorrow instead of Valentine's Day?
That's a good point. We might just do it Friday then. One day doesn't really mean much if you do it late in the night, so I might just do it to Friday then. I mean, it's one of those things. It's a trade-off here or there. It's probably a good idea considering Valentine's Day if you think about that, but we'll definitely do it to Friday then. But that's the reality. That still leaves over a week of campaigning, which is more than what's traditionally done in ASR elections. We really expanded the entire process, and we did a 3-week application process, but did not get enough people. But that always happens also. I don't think there's been an ASR for at least the last decade that hasn't had that problem. Okay, and then concerning, is there a question? No, okay. Conduct board, that whole process is going along fairly well. I had some arguments with their chairs about some internal matters, but if you guys have questions about that, I can address that later. So moving on, we have our 6th funding request of the night, 1 presenting, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll just allow that group right now, which is the Harvard Model UN, which is right here, and I believe the 2 people here now. Cool. I don't know if you have anything uploaded, but we have this ready to go. Just right here. The debate begins. You get to regulate the whole thing. You just say the motions, you say yay or nay. Yeah. That's true. You can only voice comments, but let them do the comment. And then you can offer any comments. That's what I would recommend.
Well, thank you all. Approximately 2 weeks ago, we were notified by the, excuse me one second, the International Affairs Department that we were short $1,171.50 for our trip to Boston, which is this Thursday, so sorry for the urgency here. So our funding proposal, we are representing at a global conference. The last conference at New York, we were actually the only team from Southwest, so we are actually representing a wide part of the United States. This one, there's more people there. It's a global conference. We are ambassadors to the campus at this committee. We increase our prestige for the university, we increase relationships throughout the globe, and we also gain experience from this because there's a high school, Mali United Nations, being held in San Antonio right after this, and members of this team will be heading that committee and be running that so we can gain experience from this to help run a successful one here in the city itself. And here's the breakdown of our costs. It is $443 per ticket for 10 students, plus we're going. Hotel is $199 per room. We are running out 3 rooms for 3 nights, which is $1,791. Registration total is $750 for all of us. and we are doing transportation to and from the airport, and we're just doing one group dinner we're requesting for. We are paying for all other transportation costs, individuals throughout the time there from Thursday to Sunday, as well as all the other meals. So we're not truly technically doing all of our costs with this. So total we're requesting again is $1,171.50. That's all we have.
Right, and for our New York trip, we paid in full to go to New York, or for our transportation, airfare, hotel, and it was a very valuable experience for us. So to be able to allow us to go to Boston would bring back a very global experience, and would allow us to represent Trinity as well at a very prestigious global conference.
We spent over $750 a person last trip, so we are pretty much out of money for this one. So we pretty much need full funding. If we don't get it, then the team cannot go. Are there any questions?
You guys are gonna have to lead this yourself. That's essentially, he's gonna be passively chairman, I'm just gonna tell you that.
Does
Yeah.
anybody have any questions?
No.
Right, we're good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't think it was like us not taking away questions.
So,
To remind you of how procedure works, just as a neutral person, you would make a main motion, then debate is opened on said main motion. I'll keep it on their budget part though, because I assume that's the important part.
I motion for a moderate debate of 2 minutes, 45 seconds long.
That's a subsidiary motion. Just point of info. You want the main motion, and then from the main motion, you debate whether you do.
Motion to approve.
Motion
the
to
concept.
approve the concept of Model UN trip to Boston.
Second.
And you say all those in favor?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, it passes.
Okay, I motion for a moderate caucus of 2 minutes, 45 seconds speaking time.
seconded.
Okay, all opposed, or all in favor? Yeah.
Just say, you can just do a simple up and down.
All opposed? No one? Okay, it's good.
So raise your placard, you identify.
Yeah, Senator Lewis?
Okay, so normally I'm usually the most outspoken about conferences, but I feel like they paid $700 a person to go to New York, and apparently they felt it was worthwhile enough to want to go to Boston. So I feel that, I mean, what, like $110 per person, I mean, it's not that bad. So I feel like it's pretty good.
Senator Shea?
I have no qualms about the funding and the cost of the process. The only problem is that I feel that we'd be kind of contradicting ourselves considering the issue at BSU, that if we can have the stats in the BSU issue, which I know has a lot of variances going on at the time, that's the only thing that I have concern over, but I don't have a problem with the entirety of funding it.
Two things. I think that, well, a problem with the subcommittee yesterday was the fact that we thought that they were coming to us all last minute, but in the case they didn't know 2 weeks ago that they needed this money, so they almost had no choice. And I agree with Gabby, we do need to set precedent with the whole BSU APO debate, but I adamantly don't believe that this is the particular proposal to be doing that. I think this is a special case, kind of similar to the group we funded to Nicaragua, the medical group, in which they were going somewhere to talk about what they can bring back. I think this is a special case. I don't know about it.
Yeah, just going off that, like with the APO thing, we sent just a portion of their exec committee, and with BSU we kind of suggested the same thing where we would send their exec committee and then they had to fund a lot of it. But I'm not very familiar with Model UN, but I don't really know that we could just send a certain amount of people or pay a portion of that, because it seems like even if we didn't pay, if we paid only a portion of this, then they would probably still end up going and just pay out of pocket. And if we have the money anyways, I don't see anything wrong with that.
I concur with the team who spoke before me. I think that this is a special case and that we should fund it.
So I guess motion to end debate and move the verdict.
Okay. Anyone opposed? Okay, it passes.
So then I motion to approve sorry, do we do amount now or concept?
Well, so essentially you guys just voted on the concept, so just make a simple motion to approve $1,171.50 for the trip, and then if no one makes a motion for debate, or you can like do straight to voting, whatever.
So then I motion to approve funding Molly UN $1,171.50 for their trip to Wilson.
Second.
Okay, anyone opposed? Okay, passes.
Okay, awesome. I expected that to take a long time. Okay, so now we have 5 other things to deal with concerning this. So what I'm going to recommend for you all on this is we lump all 5 together as one motion. You can divide up the vote, but then we can concentrate debate on those 5, and then we can even divide up debate either more. But that's the beauty of parliamentary procedure, the system we have, is we can vote on all 5 things at one time based on a concept or funding amount, and then you choose to divide it if you want to. If you want a division of the vote, it only takes one person to do it. Okay, so I recommend to the Senate to approve the concept of this 4th annual Black History Month banquet, blockbuster movie night, love poem contest and open mic night, JSA Purim party, a momentum, a celebration of dance at Trinity University, and cricket night.
So motion. Second.
Everyone, yeah. All those 4, simple upvote for all 5. Against? Any debate? No? Okay, seeing that, seeing the previous approval, concept passes. Concerning budgeting amounts. Simple, we're going to go through the main motion concerning that again to list all the amounts, and then I can open up for debate. Okay, so I recommend to the Senate the following budget amounts for the following events: $127 for Hindu Student Union's cricket night. Make sure these are all right.
Yeah.
$1,160 for Momentum, a celebration of dance at Trinity University. $275 for JSA's Purim party. $710 for the love poem contest and open mic.
That's 605.
Okay, then amending it $605 for the love poem contest and open mic night. So this is making a motion to listen to it essentially. Is there any objection to that? Okay, saying none, I'm opening this up for debate. If there's any debate on any particular topic, any of them, general. Okay, seeing none, we're just going to move straight to voting procedures, up and down vote concerning all those budget amounts. All those for?
Aye.
All those against? Okay, that passes. Okay, so we finished the funding portion of the night, so now we can move into the last component, which is informal discussion. We can concerning any topic here if you want to go over Senator Roberts' discussion of the emergency lights.
I think I appreciate. How much time do I have?
This is informal.
I appreciate the idea of these lights on campus. I think they're important if something emergency would happen or someone would be unsafe. However, I think it might be better use of our funds to put the money in actual TUPD. The point of it is to get TUPD to patrol areas better. And so I wonder if there's ways maybe we work with TUPD themselves to send more people to patrol areas instead of just like hoping they're going to see flashing blue light in the distance.
No, it calls all TUPD officers on campus. It's like they're
Okay, can I revoke what I said?
I can also address the funding component of it. There is a perception on campus that we in ASR are kind of like flushed with cash, so to speak. Like that is what Dean Tuttle has been telling me. Essentially, there's that perception. Because on a side note, we did all of those the water filters, which are now being installed and are on track as far as I've been told.
Where?
First floor. Northrop, and then most. I know it's Northrop, and then most of the halls. I have an official list. I can forward it to y'all if any of you want it.
I'd like that.
And then there's a couple I know they're having to deal with something logistically, but You know, I wouldn't be opposed to like helping fund those. Like, I think it's a good idea. You know, we have to deal with one thing to think about with ASR going next year. We're almost hoarding too much money. Like, if there are projects that are worthwhile, the idea is you should keep a healthy reserve in ASR. I would think probably 10 to 15%, 15% at most of like what the current student activity fee is, and you keep that as a reserve fund for emergencies. But you also don't want to start hoarding up too much money, just in the basic finance sense, like inflation will kill you, and you'll lose the value of that money. Yeah, I'm sorry if I pulled that out, but just basic. But, you know, if we see projects these that are worth it, I'm not overly opposed to at least funding somewhat. I mean, it doesn't have to be an insanely high number, but it's like getting at least 2. It's getting 4, I think that was what it was. I think it's worthwhile. And I think at the same time, it also encourages other projects on campus of a nature like that. Okay, whose placard was up first?
So I also just have a question. For like, is there someone who recommended like how many we should get and where we should put them, or is it just like they?
Okay, they honestly had no idea. The
Like,
safety
should we, like,
committee
call?
were somewhat lost. I was kind of embarrassed that my school didn't know that much about our safety. TUPD knew what they were talking about, but they, I don't know, like the whole system that they text you and everything. But I basically walked around campus and I mapped out where they all are. And I looked at where it's blocked, because we do have, you know, difficult campus having the levels. They're hard to see. Like, there isn't one by Prassel at all. There's not one by the library. The closest one is Chapman, and it's currently blocked off by construction. You can't reach it. There's only 2 on upper campus, one by the chapel, one by Chapman. But I kind of guesstimated where they should be. I mean, I would go around with the TUPD officer and find the places that they thought. I would do that easily. But they don't even know where they were. The safety committee had no idea where they were located. They didn't know what they were capable of. They didn't know. I was just like, okay, well, let me tell you what these things can do. Like,